bit down in Barrie and that area, Aurelia, and then eventually moved up as a referee when Ken Miller, my mentor, retired from on ice officiating, and I took over as a referee and traveled throughout the north doing the junior league, which is much smaller then than what it is today.
What year?
So from 92 to 97 I refereed. So from 87 to 92 I was a linesman in the OHL, but I refereed other junior, and then I moved up to referee in the OHL from 92 to 97.
I remember you as a linesman and covering the Centennials in 87, 86, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so
89.
That's my transition year, and then I went into refereeing the next year, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. The last 25 years has been refereeing minor hockey, men's league, and high school.
And ball hockey?
And ball hockey in the summertime, yeah.
Right on.
For 25 years after I left the OHL, I still officiated in some capacity at all levels.
Why did you keep doing it?
I love the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, here I am. I'm at the rink. I came to deliver some stuff because I liquidated all my stuff. I just got rid of it. It all disappeared in one day.
Mm-hmm.
So I just said, I don't want to have guys like George call me up and say we're stuck. I don't want to have that. I only have to say no once. I'm not registering anymore.
Right on.
64 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I've done a lot of hockey games, and I'm leaving on a high note. It was a good season. I didn't want to leave last year because of COVID. I only did 16 games, and for me it was like, I got to make sure. And I came back this year to make sure.
Some of your best memories refereeing?
Oh, there's tons of them. Going to Slovakia to referee the European Junior B pool was a highlight of my officiating. Doing Team Canada exhibition games throughout Northern Ontario here when they'd come through. One of the fellas that I refereed with sent me a picture of the game sheet that we did on April 4th, which is like 3 days away, 1996. He sent me the copy of the game sheet that he kept. He was a linesman with me when we went to Timmins, and we did Russia against Canada. So that was a pretty big game. Especially it was in my backyard. Being from Cochrane, doing a game in Timmins was kind of cool. Yeah.
More about your refereeing and retirement, but about hockey, what you've seen the changes in the last 25 years. Tell me about the changes you've seen.
The game has changed so much. 90s, we'll say. It was starting to change a bit. The kids were working out a lot more then. But there was still a big physicality to the game. It was very rough hockey still. And we had a red line. When I refereed, you only need one referee and two linesmen because they had that red line for the offside pass. And it slowed everything down. But by slowing it down, it became more clutch and grab. Now the rules have opened the game wide open. And the kids are in so much better shape. Like back in my day, you played yourself into shape. Now they come in shape. And same with referees. Like I was one of the first referees who would run during the off season to get ready for the next season. Most of them just, whatever. And I used to run before each junior hockey game. I used to go for a jog to be warmed up to be able to jump on the ice and go. Now they got bicycles in the referee's room so that they can warm up because the linesmen go out and have a little bit of a skate. But the referees, you would jump on the ice and you dropped the puck and they were gone because they had warmed up for 20 minutes. You hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
And it took you the first 5 minutes of the game to get warmed up.
That's neat.
It was, so that's really changed. The rules have changed the game. Like there's a lot less, there's hardly any fights. You see a fight every maybe 5 games at a battalion game, maybe. And you see how many penalties. Some games I work the penalty box now at the battalion games. And there's games that I don't see anybody in the box. Like, I've had no hitters where I don't see the visiting team get a penalty, or one or two.
Why do you think that is?
Because the kids are playing smarter.
Hmm?
They're not. Back in the old days, they didn't care about penalties. Now they care because the power plays are so good.
Consequences.
Oh,
Yep.
so much. And suspensions are worse now.
Mm-hmm.
Like you hit somebody in the head now, and even in the OHL, back in the day, you could fight 2 fights, and you could actually get in a third if you weren't the instigator of the second. You could instigate the first, not instigate the second, and fight a third time before you were thrown out of a game.
Okay.
Well, think about it.
Yeah.
Now, if you fight, you're out the next game, or if you head contact, a major for head contact, I think in the OHL ranges anywhere from 2 to 5 games, depending on how serious. So there's more consequences, but there's more at risk because the kids have gotten so big and fast. That's the biggest thing. I notice, like, I see these kids flying out there and they're clanging the ball. I'm going, thank God they have the NHL glass now in the arena. Because if they didn't, there'd be far more injuries,
Yeah, if every rink was built like West Ferris's corners,
Oh, it'd be murder.
the shoulders would be popping out every day.
Well, even the midgets don't play there anymore.
Yeah, because of that.
That was the home of the Trappers my kids both played for the Trappers, both played in that arena. But it was played under the old rules. It was a slower game back then. It was more physical. Now with the speed, if you play a midget game in there, you wouldn't have half a team by the time mid-season came around because they'd all be broken this, broken that.
Yep. Parents haven't changed much, have they? Or have they?
Well, I think they're changing now.
Mm-hmm. Don't worry about it.
Who's coming in?
Thank you. It's all good. Thanks.
The parents are, I noticed this year, and I think COVID really impacted on recruitment of referees.
Mm.
And referees quit during COVID for
Yep.
whatever reason. Like we had a lot of university students would come and college students would come and referee here. They're not here because they're doing everything virtually.
Yeah.
Well, we lost those referees,
Yeah, that's right.
right?
Yeah.
So we've lost those referees, plus the odd one who's quit during COVID, didn't come back for whatever reason, health, whatever. And we've had to cancel so many hockey games this past season. Last year wasn't a problem because we only played half a season and there weren't that many games. Like it was kind of low key, and if you recall, we were doing it without face-offs, so you had 2 people on most games. So it was pretty low key. But this year, we've had to cancel multiple hockey games at all levels. The only level that I don't know of a cancellation because of lack of referees is junior hockey. They canceled midget AAA games because of lack of referees. And I refereed, I don't know, I'll pick a number, about 30 minor hockey games this year, maybe 35. But I don't recall hearing anybody that was chewing on an official. And I refereed a lot of games with young officials who were just starting. And there was nothing said. My last game I refereed, and I figure it's roughly my 11,000th game, the kid refereeing with me hadn't refereed 10 games yet. And I say a kid, he's a 30-year-old, but he just started. He just started refereeing. Like he's literally a month ago. He wouldn't have got 10 games in a month.
Wow.
And he just started. But nobody said a word, and there was mistakes made.
Yeah.
I tell people, I made a mistake in every single hockey game I refereed. Because you just can't be perfect in any hockey game. That's the way the game is. They don't make a perfect pass. The coach doesn't make a perfect line situation. It's all relative. There's no such thing as a perfect hockey game. There's a game where things went well, but it's not a perfect hockey game. It's just the way the game is. It is the fastest game to me in the world. I don't know anything that's faster, where the official has to be judge, jury, and executioner in one split second. You see it, you got to decide, you got to make a judgment, and you got to put your arm up and give the penalty, all in a split second.
And there's a lot of consequences.
And there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
So the fans this year, I think, are starting to appreciate that without referees, our kids don't get to play hockey.
Yep.
And I hope it keeps going.
Mm-hmm.
There's one hockey association in Ontario that has first-year officials wearing green armbands.
Oh,
So people know that this person is green.
perfect. I like that
So
idea.
there's different things going on out there,
Yeah.
different ideas, and Yep. Oh no, back in the day, like I'd be throwing 5 to 10 parents out in a year, you know. And now, like I said, maybe it's because I'm older and I'm deaf,
That is good.
you know. But
Yeah.
one of the things I like to do, I'm still going to come and supervise a bit, but I like to go out and talk to hockey teams about possibly becoming referees.
Ah,
You know?
recruiter.
Keep playing,
Yep.
but start out doing kids. You know, you don't have to do that many games, but come on out and see what it's all about. And when your hockey career's done, you may want to consider doing that while you're playing men's league. Because my son TJ played a bit of junior, and he'd work out with Bill Holder.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill told him one time, he said, TJ, just remember, when it's all said and done, we play in the Corbeil Beer League.
Yep.
And that's when it's all said and done, that's where everybody goes. I know I've refereed a lot of professional hockey players who've retired over the years, who play in the Mercantile League and in the Company League back in the day. They all come back. And if they want to, unless they're playing shinny, if they're playing in a league, I've refereed them later on. And that's where they all end up, you know. So it's kind of cool to see guys like that. Like I remember a goalie in Mercantile. He's standing in his net at the far end. They're losing 3-2, and the face-off's in the opposite end. He goes over and he's talking to his bench. He just comes out a bit and he's talking to his bench about when they should pull him. Are you ready to get on when I come off? My partner dropped the puck. The puck was drawn back to the defenseman. The defenseman, a former NHLer who played forward when he was in the NHL, put the puck between the goaltender's legs while he was still talking to his bench. Didn't have to worry about pulling him anymore. It was now 4-2. Yeah, it was just, he wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And everybody went, oh my God. And you know, they all want to go. And the defenseman just skated up to his defense position at the blue line and never said a word.
Yeah.
Didn't want to embarrass the goalie. He was
Yeah.
embarrassed enough, he said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons why I came out here is because Stacy, Curtis's sister, asked me to do a
yes.
story about just to capture the tournament and the
Yeah.
spirit of Curtis Schoen and whatnot. And I know you know Curtis, and you were the pastor at his service. Tell me about Curtis and what kind of kid he was, because you knew him and you were helping him be a ref.
I did Curtis's last game with him. It was the NHL Old Timers against the Police at Memorial Gardens for Special Olympics. And he wasn't feeling well, but he didn't want to cancel out. So he came, and he, you know, Curtis's big smile, it just lit up a room. And Curtis stood beside Bill Derlago because he was a Maple Leaf fan, and he loved watching old hockey games. He loved Bill Derlago as a hockey player. Here he is, he's 17 years old. Bill Derlago was probably retiring near when he was born, but he wanted to stand beside him, and that's what he did. He stood beside him. So there's a picture in the referee's room here of Curtis, and and the picture in the referee's room shows just Curtis, but the arm that's right beside him is Bill Derlago's arm.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep, and Curtis just loved life. He just smiled all the time. He, you know, I forget what the do it for the moment or something was the thing on the T-shirts. Or
Do it for the story.
Do it for the story. And Curtis was a cautious kid. You know, like the incident that happened that took his life was not because of carelessness. It was just a momentary lack of attention. Had nothing to do with him being stupid on his motorcycle. He was just looking down at the tachometer at the wrong time in the wrong location. And it was just sad that it happened.
Yeah, he's taking out for a run there to check it out.
Check
he's
his
working
carburetor
on it.
versus tack, yeah.
Yeah.
And seeing where the gears were shifting, and he had been adjusting his carburetor. And, you know, he was a kid that always had a smile on his face, didn't matter what was going on. When he played hockey, like I refereed him in high school hockey that year, and it didn't matter whether they were winning or losing, he was having fun. And he was with his friends. I carried his funeral card from the funeral home laminated in my referee's bag until I retired. And it's now pinned up in my office. But every time I'd open my bag, he was right there. And it reminded me what this was all about. It's all about a game and having fun. And if you're not having fun, then you shouldn't be here, because it reflects on how you do a game on the ice. And I had fun right up to my last game. So, yep, he was a great kid. Yep.
The only time I ever saw him down was we were in a final for a Silver Stick Regional on the Bantam rep team, and he just happened to be on the ice. It was we had played 3 games that day because we got the bad seed from out of town, whatever, and everybody was dog tired. But he felt it was his fault.
Yep. But there was 5 other people on the ice. It's like when they're blaming. It's like blaming a goalie.
Well, my kid was in net,
Yeah.
so I know.
Yeah. You got to go through all. You got to go through your whole team before it gets by you. And if they're that talented to go through your whole team, there's probably a good chance they might score on you. You know? And it's like a referee. Referees and goaltenders usually got along pretty good, because we were both the last. Like, we were there. Like, the goalie was the one who didn't make the save. It didn't matter who didn't do what. The goalie didn't make the save. And in refereeing, the referee makes the call, you know, or misses the call.
The easy scapegoat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't take any responsibility. Blame it on somebody. And I never took it personally. I had people threaten me. You know, I had a guy, the first or second year here in Astorville, threatened to dismember me in the parking lot after. And I didn't say a word. He was thrown out, a match penalty, plus everything else he had gotten to get to that match penalty. But anyway, he was standing there when we were coming off and still yapping. But when it came to leave the arena, he wasn't around. I think somebody probably told him what I did for a living between the conversations and,
Yeah.
you know, because I was new to him,
Yeah.
you know. And I've had a few others, you know, yell and scream at me after I've thrown them out in men's league and they're standing on the other side of the glass. And I would say to them, it's okay, I'll be coming out at some point, but I'm not condoning to fight anybody. But when I'm done with you, I'm going to arrest you. They wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And they're people that I see today, and we have a good laugh about it.
Yeah.
You know, we have a good laugh about it.